This video is part of a full podcast, link in the description for the full podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. Enjoy the video. And we are back to talk about Aston Villa and all these lovely Aston Villa players. Now Jack Grealish isn't out, I can see all these lovely Aston Villa players. Let's start off with the goalkeeper. Let's start off with Emiliano Martinez. Where are you going to put him? We've got 5 tiers for this. We've got goated, top player, just mediocre, needs to prove himself, and awful.
Awful? Nah, I'm only joking. Goated.
Goated.
Goated. I would say he's the best keeper, if not one of the best. Because obviously, you know how people will say their keepers, goated. But he is one of the best players best goalkeeper, outside of the top 6, if not the best. So definitely in goated. No,
fair enough.
Nothing more needs to be said. Goated.
Fair enough. We'll move on to the backup goalkeeper now, Robin Olsen.
I don't know. How many tiers we got?
We got 5.
We got goated, top player,
just mediocre, needs to prove himself, and awful.
Fair enough, yeah. So, because obviously he's only played the one game for us, I'd say just mediocre.
Just mediocre.
But if we saw him more, I'd happily maybe put him in top player. But obviously he hasn't played a lot for us.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I can only go off what we saw. So for us, he's just mediocre. He's backup goalkeeper, so that's all you can sort of say about him.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And then the final goalkeeper in Jed Steer.
It's a shame with Steer because we signed him, and I think we might have signed like 2012, 2013. He never really played for us. And the season, half the season he did play for us was the season we got promoted, and he was absolutely class. And then after that, he hasn't really, again, played for us because we signed Heaton when we came up, and we signed. He was our backup, he was second, third choice always. So, do you know what? Just for that playoff semi-final penalty shootout and helping us get promoted, I'll have to put him in top player.
Top player, okay.
Top class, whatever the tier is.
Top player,
because I will add, he isn't a top player no more. He does not really play. He might have had a pre-season game for us, if that. But he does not play for us anymore, whatever. But I'll put him in top player purely because of his penalty saving heroics a few years ago. Although he did play for us last season, and we lost about 3-0 to Chelsea. So he isn't class. He isn't a Premier League goalkeeper, but for hero status at Villa, I'll put him in.
Top player.
Him in that tier.
Fair enough. And for those watching this as a video, because this will be a video separate to the main podcast, I know you can only see his chin. I promise it is Jed Steer. You'll just have to trust me based off the beard. We'll move on to a guy that is called Matty Cash, but Matty Kaszowski, I think's the other name for him, now him being Polish, of course.
He's got so many different Polish names.
He has.
It's unreal.
Where's Matty Cash going?
Same as Steer.
Same as Steer, top player.
Yeah. He's a good. When we signed him from Forest, again, I was sceptical. Championship player coming to Premier League, you never know how they'll play.
No.
But this season, he hasn't. Again, you could say that about any player that we have. He hasn't been great, but happily put him in that top tier because when he is playing, he does play quite well. And obviously at Forest, he was sort of playing like midfield on the wing, and he showed his class there. He's still class on the wing. So yeah, I'll put him there.
Fair enough. I was listening to the Foscast with him the other day, and he was talking about that on there, obviously.
I haven't watched that yet.
He was speaking really well on it. I'd absolutely recommend it. Listen to it on the bus back from college. So top quality podcast. Diego Carlos next, from the 90 odd minutes you've seen of him.
It is unfortunate, but from what we have saw of him, again, I'd put him in the same rank as Matty and Jed, because what we have saw of him has been class. Any Villa fan would say that, and he will be a big loss to us while he's out injured.
Yeah.
And hopefully when he comes back, he can replicate what he showed in like the 2-3 games we had with him. So happily put him there.
Fair enough.
Hopefully he comes back and shows that he can do what he did. But
Of course, yeah.
with the injury he has, it'll be
Be a while.
50-50 because we don't know how we'll perform after that.
Of course, yeah. And obviously he's getting older as well, as he's 29, 30 odd. So again, you'll have to see how he recovers from that. Ezri Konsa next.
Yeah, again. Oh my god, I'm a bit of a broken
top
record
player,
again.
yeah.
Yeah, he is top player. Some would put him in the third tier. I'm putting him in top player purely because he is a top player. He came through the ranks at Brentford and Smith signed him the first season we came up, and people said, "Oh, that's a bit ridiculous for him," but like the money we spent on him, sorry.
Yeah.
But the money we spent on him has been proven. He does a job. So I'm putting him in that same tier.
Fair enough. We've got a man that seems to divide Villa fans' opinions next.
I can guess who this is.
I'm sure you can probably start talking about it now. Tyrone Mings.
Yeah. If this was last season, mediocre. I think I do agree with Gerard that the captaincy thing did sort of play with him a bit. And last season he didn't play as well, although his stats wise, he's still shown that he was a class player. But yeah, if this was last season, it's mediocre. But I'll have to put him. I don't know, because this season he's been top class.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm gonna have to put him in top player.
Another top player.
Yeah, if this was honestly though, if this was last season, it's mediocre.
It'd be mediocre, right, fair enough.
The mistakes he made did massively fuck us in the nicest way possible.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But I have to put him there.
All right, fair enough. Next, we've got the most versatile man in this squad, Callum Chambers.
Yeah, the things we have saw of him are top class, but we haven't saw a lot of him. So, as much as I want to say the same tier again, it's going to have to be just mediocre.
All right, fair enough.
Because although we want him to play more, and he is an amazing player when he's played for us, I'll have to put him in mediocre because he doesn't play a lot, and that is a shame. But you can't say a lot about a player that don't really play for you when at the minute he should be. But I think at the minute he is injured. I think he might be back for Forest on Monday.
Okay.
Whether he is or not, obviously we'll have to see when the team news comes out. It's not even the club know that yet. But yeah, he's mediocre at the minute. But when he does play for us, he has been amazing. So
fair enough. Next, we've got a guy I didn't even realise you'd signed. Ludwig Augustinsson.
Needs to prove himself.
Fair enough.
To be fair, he's coming on loan. He's played one half against Leeds.
Yep.
And he didn't even finish that half because he got injured. And now he's out for 3 weeks. So that's another player that I forgot to mention on the transfers bit, but we're talking about him now. He's come in on loan. And unfortunately, he's got injured. I don't really think he did. Well, obviously he did well enough because we kept a clean sheet that first half, and then obviously we kept the clean sheet the whole game. But yeah, we don't know lots about him. We saw him play 46 minutes of football, and that was it. So yeah,
fair enough.
Needs to prove himself.
Fair enough. Next, we've got another lad here who is another left back. So you've got three, which doesn't make sense to me. This guy's a little bit older than Augustinsson. Ashley Young.
Ooh. It's hard because obviously he played for us before he went to United.
He did, yeah.
And he was a class player then. Because he's still playing and because he does put in a good performance, and judging on him from when he was with us before he left us, I'll put him in goated. He's doing a class job. You know, he's 37.
He is, yeah.
Turning 38 next year, I think. And and he's still putting in a good job. So yeah, from playing with us when we signed him first, and now he's come back. So yeah, I'll put him in goated because he's always been a player that will put in a good shift for us, even if he isn't at his best as he was a few years ago. So
38 in July for Ashley Young. So yeah, getting on a little bit. Next, we've got a man that you brought in on deadline day. I think it was deadline day. Jan Bednarak.
Um, Again, needs to prove himself.
Needs to
We've
prove
only saw him
himself.
play one half of football,
Hmm.
so but obviously he did well. He did well. I won't knock him for that. But yeah, he needs to prove himself.
Fair
We
enough.
haven't saw a lot of him. We might see him on Monday, depending on the injury situation. But yeah, he needs to prove himself. Hopefully, he comes good for us because we do genuinely need players that will get us up the table at the minute.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, at the minute he needs to prove himself. Needs to show his defensive
Yeah.
qualities with
Hmm.
us, and so yeah, hopefully he does prove himself. Time
Uh-huh.
will tell.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. We've got another guy, Frederick Gilbert. Swear he left you, but apparently he's still here. So
He is still here. Yeah. It's a weird one. Um, what was the final tier? What are the bottom
awful.
two? Awful. I wouldn't put him in awful. I don't know. I can't even put him in proving himself because
We're going to need one awful out of the whole tier list, surely.
yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put him in awful
All right.
because at the minute he's never gonna play for us ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and obviously when he did play for us in his first season, he was class, but obviously we were losing loads of games and conceding lots of goals, so obviously he weren't that great. But he's one of the ones which fans are gutted about the treatment that he's got by the club and
Uh-huh.
Gerrard. So, but yeah, unfortunately he's gonna have to go bottom tier because
Going
I
awful.
can't say he's got to prove himself because at the minute he's never going to play for us again. So
Yeah.
it's a
Fair enough
shame.
then.
It's one of them players that nothing came well of. But yeah, unfortunately he's got to go in awful.
No, fair enough. Next, we've got the man who dislodged Matt Targett's position at left back. It's Luca Digne.
Mediocre.
Mediocre.
Purely because some loads of fans will say he hasn't been an upgrade on target.
Okay.
He's class going forward, but even then, it's not. I mean, obviously we haven't been scoring a lot of goals this season anyway, so
No.
yeah, he's mediocre. He's one of them players that I think I think you could say people underrate, but I'd definitely agree with the people that say he hasn't improved um, on target.
Fair
So
enough.
yeah, he's got to go mediocre.
Fair
He's
enough.
just one of them annoying players. He's good, but
He doesn't show it enough.
no,
He's not consistent.
no, he's not consistent enough.
Fair enough. Dendonka next up.
Again, needs to prove himself. We
Okay.
saw him play 20 minutes of football.
Yeah.
Not a lot can be said about him.
Nope.
So, although when we did sign him, like quite a few fans called him Den Donkey. So take that what you will. But yeah, he needs to prove himself. Hopefully he does because we spent about 20 million on him.
Ooh.
And yeah, that's all I can really say about him.
Yeah. Next up, we've got a youth player, Lamar Bogard. I'm going to presume this needs to prove himself.
Yeah, I think I might have seen him play once or twice. I might have, if he started in the FA Youth Cup final, he did well there. But yeah, needs to prove himself.
Okay.
No one knows a lot about him. Me personally, I don't anyway. A lot of people know a lot more about the youth team than I do, so I can't really comment on him. But needs to prove himself.
Fair
Obviously, he
enough.
needs to prove himself anyway if he wants to break into this
Exactly. Yeah.
first team. So
Yeah. Very good point. We've got a man that nearly moved on. Well, did he nearly move? He was linked with a move on deadline day to Arsenal. Had a couple of bids rejected. Douglas Luiz.
yeah, it's another weird one. Came from City, didn't really do well in his first season, but he had scored a lot of corner goals. I think he scored three, including the one in pre-season. So
Wow.
I'd put him in top class, top
Top
player.
player. Yep.
Yeah, he does well when we need him. If this was last season or the season before, I might say mediocre, but yeah, he does a job. So I'd put him top player.
Fair enough. We've got Big John McGinn next.
It's annoying because another annoying one because he is a class player, but unfortunately this season he's been mediocre and maybe taking the captaincy on is
Too much.
sort of is too much. So unfortunately I've got to put him in mediocre. Any Villa fan that has seen him play this season will probably say the same thing. A lot of people want him to be dropped, which is kind of a shame, but again, it is what it is. So mediocre at the minute.
We've got next
Hopefully
up.
picks up form.
Yeah, we've got a guy next. I was actually really excited when he first signed for you. I was really excited because I thought this is a really good signing. He came from France. His name's Morgan Sanson. What's happened here then?
He was too injury prone. I think we paid about 15 million for him, and
Yeah.
we saw zero return on that 15 million so far. It's annoying because he's just one of them players that he's come to us. It happens a lot. Players come to us, been injury free most of their career, or haven't really been injured, and they go and get injured a lot. I don't really think Gerrard's the biggest fan of him for whatever reason. A lot of fans are saying we haven't got a lot going for us at the minute. Why not play him? And he's still not being played. He might come on, be on the bench a few times. So yeah, he needs. I can't even. I don't know. Probably needs to prove himself.
He's proved himself.
Because
Okay.
we've saw nothing of him, and we've had him. 1
Year and a half now, is it? 2 years and a half?
Yeah, I think January would be his third season.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't.
Wow.
This is the thing. We don't know. We
No.
don't know anything about him.
So, yeah,
unfortunately,
Needs
he's
to
got to
prove
go there.
himself. Next up, we've got a man that is Emi Buendia. If you are watching the video, I know you can't tell because you can literally see his beard, his arms, and his chest. But it is Emi Buendia. He's invisible in this, as you've already said. Stephen Gerrard would agree with that. Where's he going for you then?
He's just a bit off-goated because
Okay.
he doesn't play enough.
Top
So
player.
he's another one that's going top player. Because when he comes on, he's absolutely amazing. And it did take him a while to get used to it, but yeah, he's a top player, and it's a shame that Gerrard isn't playing him more for one reason or another. But yeah, he's an amazing player and is very much proving why we spent 35-40 million on him.
Yeah, fair enough. Next up, I think that's Marvellous Nakamba.
It's unfortunate because if he didn't get injured last season, he might be another one joining that second tier list. But he's mediocre because Gerrard hasn't really hasn't played him at all this season. And unfortunately, when he did sign for us, to be fair, up until Gerrard became manager, he's one of them ones that I may have put in awful, but he's done well since Gerrard has come, but unfortunately he just isn't playing. It isn't working out for him, and he could end up being one of the ones that go in January or the summer. So yeah, I'd have to say mediocre, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Next up, we have a man we've already touched on in this podcast so far, Philippe Coutinho.
Frustrating player. At the minute, definitely mediocre. He just isn't proving what he's got. He isn't showing it. So
No, fair enough.
If this was a few weeks later than we're doing this podcast now, it might even be putting him in. He needs to prove himself, but at the minute he's mediocre.
Fair enough.
If we don't see a turn of form, he could very well end up in that awful section.
Wow. 130 million for awful for Aston Villa. Wow, what a downfall from grace for Philippe Coutinho. And there isn't even any disrespect in that either. 130 million. Oh, God. Next up, Jacob Ramsey. You're a shining light of your youth academy recently.
Yeah, top player,
Top
definitely. He came through the youth, obviously, as you just said, and yeah, he's one of them ones that hopefully we keep hold of, and he just keeps on improving, and he becomes sort of like how Grealish did. But yeah, he's
Man City for
absolutely
100 mil.
he is amazing. Yeah, so definitely top player.
Fair enough. We've got your final summer signing now, Boubacar Kamara.
Goated. Yeah, I think I might put him in goated because every time he's played for us, He's
He's
been
looked incredible.
quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't say that. I'd. To be fair, I would put him in top player, but he's going in goated purely because his performance. He's probably been one of, if not our best player so far this season.
Uh-huh.
And it'll be a real shame to lose him while he's out injured.
Fair enough. We've got just the attackers left now. 4 attackers, and I don't think any of them can score goals. But we'll start with Ollie Watkins.
It's another frustrating. Again, keep on saying the same thing. It is frustrating, but he's mediocre at the minute because
Uh-huh.
he may get a few shots on target in the game, but he isn't scoring. And as a striker, if you're not scoring,
It's not good
you
enough.
know something's wrong. He took extra shooting drills over the summer, and
Ooh.
unfortunately that hasn't really helped him yet. So
No.
he's got to go mediocre. Hopefully he picks up that form he sort of had when we first signed him,
Mm-hmm.
and can get about 10, 11 goals this season. But he's going to need to start scoring soon.
He is. He's only got 1 so far. Next up, we do have the biggest surprise transfer in football history. Nobody knew this was going to happen. Even his own girlfriend didn't know this was going to happen until he was signing his shirt. It's Danny Ings.
Yeah, he's one of them ones that has sort of worked out and sort of hasn't, because we all know he's injury prone,
Mm-hmm.
but when he is scoring, he has done quite well. Mediocre, unfortunately, because he's just one of them players that get injured too much and we never really see the best of.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. We've got 2 more now. We'll start off with something I was really excited for when he first came to you lot, but just hasn't seemed to work out. The Jamaican winger is Leon Bailey.
To be fair, in pre-season, he was the goat. He was a goat. It's never really worked out. Again, he was injury free before he signed for us, and
Yeah.
he's been injury prone ever since. So I'd love to put him in top class, but I don't think many would agree with me. So he's got to go in mediocre.
Well, okay. Big fall from grace then after scoring goals for fun at Leverkusen. Mediocre for Leon Bailey. And then last but not least, it's a man that many Villa fans want starting from what I've seen actually, Cameron Archer.
Top player.
Okay.
Happily put him in top player. Obviously, he's only young and he hasn't scored a lot, but Villa fans are questioning why Gerrard ain't playing him. Again, I'll go back to what I said about Sanson. Not a lot's going for us. You may as well chuck him on
Yeah.
for half hour for a full half,
Mm-hmm.
because he has proven that he'll be a top class striker. I mean, it might have even been his it weren't his debut, but I think it might have been his full first 90 minutes in a Villa shirt. He got a hat trick. Again, granted, it was against Barrow.
Okay.
Barrow League 2, so
Mm-hmm.
not sort of the one to be like, whoa, he's got a hat trick, but for his age, to get a hat trick in any game against any team is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd put him in top player. Hopefully we see him more. And if he stays with us and if he plays the way he does, he'll definitely be one of them players that we'll want to keep for as long as he's great.
Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough.